We're back with another episode of Ask Dr. Lisa, except today we're here at the Malibu Coast Animal Hospital, which personally I've spent a lot of time here with you and the rest of the amazing doctors. Yep. And feeling so thankful that you allowed us to come in to do this.
Yeah, I'm glad you came. I'm happy to have you.
I feel like we have so much to talk about. The one place that I wanted to start was something that we discussed last time.
Okay.
Which was the new clinic that you were getting involved with.
Right, yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Okay, so there is this wonderful nonprofit organization called My Friend's Place, and it's basically a drop-in center for homeless youth, 12 to 24 years old, and it's a safe place because, you know, it's hard enough, you can imagine, for the adult homeless. You can imagine for young kids who I am finding with talking to them, and now I've done it, I think 8 clinics now there. A lot of these kids are from the broken system of foster care. It's not very good from what I'm gathering. You know, these kids, I think, are being honest and truthful with me. But anyway, so the streets can be very dangerous and unsafe. So a lot of these kids, they have pets. They have a lot of dogs and I've seen a couple cats, and this is their only source of love and protection for a lot of them. It's their reason for living. So I wanted to do something else. One of the board of directors members, Nicole, good friend of mine, said, hey, what can we do, you know? And I said, hey, let's do a free clinic there. So every other Friday at My Friend's Place, we're doing a pet-free clinic.
Wow.
So I think this is our 6th one maybe now that we've done. Dr. Sheila is actually over there right now as we speak. It's from 10 to 2 every other Friday. And so we provide, you know, a lot of these are puppies. So we're doing, you know, which is interesting because I say, well, where'd you get this? Because I don't think the shelters would let them. Craigslist. Apparently it takes nothing. If you have a few dollars, you can buy an animal off of Craigslist, which I have, you know, how I'm going to feel about that. But at least I'll tell you one thing, these kids, they're coming back. They're bringing their puppies back for their next set of vaccines and dewormings and giving them the flea and tick medication. So they are being responsible. We're training and teaching and working with them, talking to them about training. And, you know, so far it's been very well received. The staff, all the volunteers are so grateful, and I feel like the kids are too. And we are also, people have been donating food, pet food. That's one thing too, is My Friend's Place doesn't really have a big budget. We have enough with just trying to do it on the human side. So I will take donations of food. I will take money to buy food.
Yes.
We can help with your food.
That's great. And they also are looking for clothing. So any human clothing, they need it. They also have the little nice place in the back. It's like a little free thrift store. So they're taking donations of clothing, backpacks, water jugs, you know, anything. So that's wonderful too.
We can support on our end if you want to provide us with a link for our followers to maybe send to, and also would the delivery address be My Friend's Place? Would they intake the donations?
They would
okay,
intake,
great.
Because everything I get, I got a really wonderful donation a couple weeks ago from Centinela, and all kinds of great high-end, wonderful foods, and I do take them there. Some are smaller bags, but the bigger bags, we just break them down into plastic bags because obviously these are homeless kids and they can't carry 20-pound sacks. So they're allowing us to keep the food there for the cats and the dogs and the kittens and puppies. So it's pretty awesome. It's really working out to something quite beautiful.
Amazing. And what is the location? Where are they?
5850 Hollywood Boulevard, right in downtown Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah.
And what would you say, like, the percentage of these youth, like, who out of how many have animals?
I would say probably 10% of the kids I've seen, 10 to 15%. We're seeing about 8 to 10 patients every time we go in. Some are repeats, some are new. But we probably have at least 20 patients right now from the clinic, at least.
And do you provide full general vet care or vaccines, spay, neuter?
No, we're trying to do as much as we can.
That's amazing.
You know, the hospital, Malibu Coast Animal Hospital, owned by Dana and Dean Graulich, they have been so generous. They are actually give me all my supplies at cost. So medications,
That's amazing.
I'm getting all those at cost. And, you know, obviously serious things I couldn't help. I could do referrals for. But they're also doing Zoetis. They have a philanthropy program, and they are covering all my feline revolution and vaccines for dogs and cats for an entire year.
What an
They just approved me for that, and they just sent me tons of it. I'm also, NexGard has been donated by the company as well that makes NexGard, so I have all that for my pups. And it's, you know, I've had some wonderful donors who have helped, so it's really coming along. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so we try to be kind of full service, not just puppies and kittens. So.
Totally.
And then the spaying and the neutering, that's the next big part. Again, it's educating these kids. It's interesting. You know, I talked to the executive director, and a lot of these kids, unfortunately, have been physically and sexually abused. And so when you talk about removing body parts, is basically what a spay or neuter is.
Mm-hmm.
They have hard time talking about that and dealing with that, which I never thought about.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Especially, you know, the anatomy of the, you know, genitalia and everything. It's just because of the sexual and physical abuse, which is something I never thought about before.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. And so we do have to, you know, take it on a way about not letting them get pregnant. It's not just that. It's for the health, long-term health.
I want to talk a little bit about that because I saw a DM come in yesterday.
Right.
Where someone was asking, what are the other benefits of spay neuter that's not just keeping your animal from reproducing and adding to the overpopulation?
Right. Well, some of the things, it prevents several cancers. You know, if you don't have testicles, you're not going to get testicular cancer. And there's also some affiliation, there's some stones and crystals that you can get as an intact male that, again, neutering prevents that. You know, for females, every time a female dog comes in heat, it increases the chance of getting mammary gland tumors by 17%.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. They also can get something called pyometra, which is an infected uterus. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, 90% of the time, that's a life-threatening emergency. Mm-hmm. It's basically, it translates to a uterus full of pus. And they can rupture. They're so sick. And it's completely preventable. You know. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of studies that say you want to wait till they're older, this and that. And it's like, you have studies on both sides, say benefits for waiting longer to spay or neuter, and maybe not. I don't know where I'm at it. If I can get to a male bigger dog to a year just because I feel like they can fully grow and do it, great. But if they do what I call bad puppy behaviors, male aggression, male on male aggression, lifting their leg, marking in the house, guess what? Every month that you wait to and prolong that, they're going to just do that completely as a habit, and it's going to be hard to break those bad boy habits.
Yes.
So
I remember last time we were talking about it, you mentioned something that was so interesting to me about how it curbs the behaviors of the dog seeking a mate, like wandering the neighborhood or just that bad behavior. I think that's a really interesting
And people
point
don't think of it in those terms, is what I find. Even veterinarians don't think of it that way. I equated it, remember, with like a teenage boy.
Right.
Never being able to have sex. Ever.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the whole thing. When these people, I'm responsible. I'm not letting them mate and breed. But yeah, look what you're doing to their mental health.
Frustration.
Remember, they can smell a female and heat in a 5-mile radius. So you're torturing them, basically. And that's just so it's not just for the physical, but for the mental health of the pet.
That is such a good point.
I think that's a really interesting way to think about it.
Don't think of it as like, you want to say stop humanizing, you know, spaying and neuter, and they don't know. They don't get sad if you take their uterus and their ovaries, and they're still the happy same puppies, and we just want to prolong that.
Of course.
And keep them. But the biggest thing now in this area in California, the horrific amounts of puppies and kittens who are being euthanized in the
perfectly
shelters.
Healthy,
yeah,
perfectly healthy
puppies.
litters. because I don't know what the fuck has happened, but you people have stopped adopting. I don't know what's going on, and I'm extremely frustrated, but there are rumors with proof that some of these shelters have over 1,000 euthanasias a month.
Oh my gosh.
Now, it's hard to fathom, but guess what, kids? California, just until recently, and I'll explain why, is the #1 euthanasia state. So don't be having this little attitude that we are just this wonderful animal, well-loved state. We're killing our puppies, kittens, adults by the thousands. We're #1 until just recently. Texas just took over as now #1. So California is still #2 out of 50 states.
Yeah. You know, it used to be when we first got involved in the animal welfare world here in Los Angeles, you would go to a shelter and you worried about the large dogs. Mm-hmm. We didn't worry about the puppies. Yeah. We didn't worry about the little dogs. They were going to get out. Mm-hmm. And that has all changed now. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are.
Oh, it's rows and rows of litters.
I'm so sad. And it's I got all hot just talking about it just because it's heartbreaking to me. And it's just because people keep letting their animals get pregnant. Yeah. And there's no excuse. There are so many great organizations like Spay LA.
Spay for LA.
Spay for LA. I'm going to throw that out there because they're going to help with our kids at my friend's place. They're going to start doing that. We can get vouchers for them. You know, the backyard breeders. And the whole truth of the matter is, too, in LA County, there's only about 50 to 55 LA County officers, control officers for the whole entire place.
How many did you say?
About 45, 55.
Oh, wow.
And that's city or county?
And that's the whole LA County. And so how are they going to regulate these backyard breeders? How is there enough time for them to investigate the cruelty and the neglect of these backyard breeders? Because they all go hand in hand, trust me. And to the ones that get adopted, how are they going to follow up on the vouchers to see if they were spayed and neutered?
Right.
They're not. And it's not, you know, and the conditions right now of these shelters, because they are 25% overstocked on pets right now, you know, they're horrific. They're doubling and tripling up on them. These poor animals are covered in diarrhea because of stress. They're sick. They're coughing. And they smell like urine. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I'm not going to blame the staff. I'm not going to blame the volunteers because guess what? They're doing the best they can.
They are. We're there. We've
LA City Council with the new mayor. Yes, Karen Bass, I am calling you out right now because you want to lower the budget. Yes. How dare you? How dare you? And shame on you. So it is. That's the problem. They don't have the help. They don't have the finances.
They don't.
But they sure have the, $300 million, whatever they want to pay more for their salaries and everything? Sure.
Yeah. You mentioned something.
Yes, go ahead. No.
We're talking about the double, triple. There's sometimes up to 10 dogs in a kennel. And that alone is awful. But something that we notice as a rescue, but I'm sure anyone walking through would notice, is these diseases are running so rampant. And now without even the cement walls between these dogs, everyone is getting so sick.
They're getting so sick. And then these people, so let's say a good family comes, who wants to take on a sick dog? And that takes special people willing to do that.
It's also expensive.
It is expensive.
It's also, I was thinking about this last night. It's like, what are we teaching back to the youth? What are we teaching our youth? That this is how, as a community, we treat our animals, living, breathing things. And I feel like it all relates back to whether it's like the treatment of animals or the treatment of human beings. Like if you could do that to an animal, then who's to say you're not going to do that to, you know, a kid or whatever. And I just feel like we're delivering such a horrific message to our community.
And again, it's the whole thing. It's prevention through education. So that's why at least I'm happy that we're trying to eke out this little part with these young homeless youth. We're educating them. You know, this is the whole thing, and that's where it starts. And that's why a lot of these programs, like the HIT Dog Adoption group that I'm on the board of director, we're having a huge, big school. We're going to launch this educational program to get into to schools. So, and that's where we have to do it, you know. And I do find that the kids are actually more compassionate and think about it more than the adults.
They
so
really
that's a
do.
place for us to try to start.
And there's always
I
so
think.
much to learn, even how you said, like, you didn't think about the trauma that these kids are bringing into spaying and neutering their dogs. There's always something for us to learn about it and the community and why it's happening, why it's not happening, and where we can step into help. I think that education continues to blow my mind.
Right. And it was interesting. One of the reasons with Texas why they've become number one, just a fact, because they're all the border areas, people bringing their pets across. And unfortunately, when they take the people, they separate them from their pets.
Oh my God.
And then they're going into that's why it's taken over now. They're being euthanized more in Texas.
This is deep-seated.
It is.
This is a deep-seated issue.
So sad. I want to talk more about that education program. Have you guys started to map it out? Do you know?
Yes, they have. I just had my first board meeting with them, so we were just talking about it a little bit. And Heather Crow, who's the founder, she's amazing. And you know, I know we already have a target school that we're going to implement and try the first time very soon. So I'm very excited about that. So cool. But it's definitely something we want to, you know, hit hard because again, as you know, as a rescue, it's like your fosters. We have no fosters right now. Mm-hmm. We cannot continue to pull animals from the shelters because we have no fosters. So we got to get to the root of the problem. Is we've got to start spaying and neutering.
I will tell you that we've gone into schools and libraries. You know, my little Miracle, my little two-legged Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And we've gone into schools and libraries and taught the kids about, you know, inclusion and how different is beautiful and, you know, just, you know, how amazing this little creature is even without her legs. Yeah. But what I have found in doing that is that the kids are surprisingly so into it. Like there will be like greeting cards up on the wall for us and they want to go home and they want to get their parents involved. And many of them have already said to them, listen, like, you know, there's a dog homeless population in LA. We want to foster, or, you know, I'll get a phone call afterwards from a mom wanting to learn more or wanting to adopt a dog rather than buy a dog, that type of thing. So it is so important because that's the generation that we need to educate. It starts with them.
And that is so true.
The awareness of everything.
Exactly. And it's just like anything else, it's like, yes, you make them aware. You know, I kind of use that in practice as an example. There's a dog who came in for a checkup last week. He had terrible mouth disease, just the worst. And I saw the year before, the doctor said, look, you really need to get your dog's teeth taken care of. Every time it would come in. So this has been going on for a few years. The young girl, the daughter, came in. And I told her, and I really put it to her, and I know she went, because when I talked to the mom after, she goes, oh, I guess we should get the teeth cleaned. So I knew that young daughter, the woman, really jumped on top of her mom about that.
Well, that is a good segue into a couple of the questions that we got from our followers that they wanted to ask you today. I think one of them was non-anesthesia versus anesthesia teeth cleaning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You know, you talk to me and you talk to a veterinary dentist, it's going to be a complete different opinion, okay? I did just have a non-anesthetic dental done on my own personal dog. She had such minor calculus on her teeth, and she was tolerant. And if I know the source of who's doing it, there's some great groups out there. There's Canine Grills, which is, as long as there's a veterinarian involved doing the full oral exam before, then I'm totally fine with it. But like I said, you talk to the Dental Association, they're going to have my head for this. I know I'm going to hear from them. They don't believe that those dentals can be, you know, done well. They don't believe they're of any benefit. I disagree. You know, especially at least for some who are high risk under anesthesia. If it's not horrific dental disease, then sure, why not?
It's definitely better than nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a clinic, a wonderful clinic. There's a groomer called Paws and Claws right next to our outlet.
Leslie,
Leslie.
That's where my little white fluffies go.
There you go. So Leslie, every month they have a dental, non-anesthetic dental clinic.
My boys have done that.
And their group is wonderful because guess what? And this is why you need to have a a veterinarian involved. They do the full exam. And if they find something, they'll say, no, you need to.
That's what's important.
That's the whole thing. Because the ones that go and they're just, I don't know who they are, groomers or whatever, they're not. It's illegal, by the way, first of all, to do a non-anesthetic dental off premise without a veterinarian there. So
those trucks that are like,
unless there's a veterinarian involved, because a lot of those trucks do have a veterinarian.
Oh, okay.
But the ones that don't, it's illegal. You're breaking the law. That's practicing veterinary medicine. Dentistry is veterinary medicine.
Sure.
So that's why I like that group that Leslie has come monthly, because guess what? That's what they do. Now, if it's obvious dental disease, I see an abscess, I see loose teeth, I see stuff that is just so horrific under anesthesia. And a lot of these dogs, they won't tolerate it. Mm-hmm. Some dogs, they will not let you put your hands in your mouth. So it becomes stressful and dangerous to them and to you. So
what are some of the ways that dental disease can affect a dog's health? Things that we wouldn't think of.
Well, kidney disease, chronic. It can attribute to kidney disease, heart disease. You're swallowing this horrific bacteria and it's going into the heart every day.
So a lot of our seniors that we pull, because we do a lot of seniors, especially like the little dogs, the Chihuahuas who just have horrible
and pain. How about pain, guys?
The pain.
But there's always if there's teeth, there's usually heart stuff too.
Right.
Often.
A lot of times, exactly. And just and I don't know how some of these guys come in and they've just built up. They're so frightened to put them under anesthesia. I get it. Guess what? Anesthesia is the highest risk of anything that we do, of something potentially going wrong with your pet. But if you have it done properly, and the right environment and a good clinic, with someone you trust, we do everything to minimize that risk. IV catheter and fluids, pre-anesthetic blood work. We have all the bells and whistles, which means they're hooked up to telemetry. So they have the indwelling rectal thermometer to keep the temperatures okay. They're hooked up to the EKG. They're hooked up to the blood pressure. So those are all the things that you minimize risk. Yeah. But anesthesia is in every aspect, even probably in human medicine. Anesthesia for us is the number one risk of anything going wrong. But because of the things that we do and the modalities that we use, our standard of care, it goes very well.
Sure. So there's also such extraordinary risk about having your dog walk around with dental disease.
And that's what you have to weigh.
Continue to inhabit their body.
And I don't know how they can smell that breath. I call it death breath sometimes. Like, how are you kissing your dog right now?
Oh, it's like, it's breath only a mother could love.
Yeah. They say you get used to it. So, but so that is something that I feel very important. And yes, I'm a little more lenient with the non-anesthetic dentals when done properly and with a veterinarian involved. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, good. We just answered another question that was asked. For elder dogs with lots of plaque, how important is it to get your dog's teeth cleaned? There you go. Yes.
And we agree, very important.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you not do your teeth? So that's the problem. If we could brush our teeth every day, our pet's teeth every day, we wouldn't have this issue. But time constraints, the dogs cooperating or the cats cooperating. Those cats. Do I brush my? No, I have 7 dogs. That's all 7 cats and dogs. That's all I'd be doing every day.
Right.
Is brushing teeth. So I get it, and I don't fault anybody for that. But if you can brush your teeth, please do. If they can brush their teeth, that would solve a lot of this, just like us.
Yeah. So another question that we got that I thought was really a good one. Is it true people with dog allergies react less to female dogs?
I heard that question and I have no clue. I've never heard about that.
Ask
your human doctor. I don't know. That's I've never heard of that before. And I actually saw that question and I asked a couple of the other veterinarians here and we're like, We have never heard that before.
I wonder where did you hear that? SKZ, a friend. Where do we want to know where you heard that?
Yeah, that was quite interesting to me.
I can't imagine
because
what it would
dander's
be.
dander, and
Right.
I don't know and saliva's saliva. I didn't know if there was a difference based on the
interesting.
sex of the pet. Yeah.
We had an adopter once, Ben, my old SoulCycle teacher, who was highly allergic to dogs his entire life.
Right.
But he and his partner fell in love with one of our dogs, and he's like a border collie mix. Bolt. Yeah. And she loved the dog. He loved her and the dog. So he was willing to give it a try and took this dog home. For, I would say, a couple of weeks. He was highly allergic the whole time. And then it got better.
Exactly. So that's, my husband is highly allergic to cats.
Oh,
I had my cats first. So he takes something, I don't know if it's Zyrtec or one of these allergy things every night, but you do get better. You can get, and that's, think about it. That's what immunotherapy is. They take
exposure.
And then they inject you with a little bit of all the things you're allergic to. So you're getting the organic inoculation.
Yeah,
if you will.
That's right.
Yeah. So just...
And that's what can happen. It's wonderful that he just did it.
Yeah, and they have 2 of our dogs now.
Oh, wow.
And
that's wonderful.
at least 1 kid. I'm not even sure. Maybe more.
At least 1 cat.
That's great. So it is possible. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he just said that after a little while, and he was like a mess for a little while, but it did get better, and there was no way that he was going to live without this dog. So he was going to make it work.
I love to hear that.
Yeah. So we love our Ben. Okay, what was the other one? Oh, I thought this was a cute question. What is your favorite type of dog to work with?
The one who doesn't bite me. There you go.
That's a great answer.
I don't really, I love them all. Honestly, I don't have a favorite, but it's always nice when, I really try to build a relationship with each one of my patients. I really do. I take the time. And, you are going to get some dogs who are just so terrified and so frightened. And I really try to work with them and just take time, you know what I mean, to get them to not be so frightened. That is such an important thing. But I don't really have a favorite like that.
Just a behavior question, because you've been doing this for a long time now. Can you kind of eyeball a dog when he or she comes in and you're like, okay, I know that this may be an issue, and are you usually right about that? Or I
am. I think all of us who's been doing this, even rescue, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You get that sense, and you need to have that sense and trust your gut on that. And especially I'll walk in and the owner will let us know a lot of times too, if they're a caution dog, you go in and approach it a little differently. But when I first walk in the room where I know there's an aggressive dog, I won't even look at them. I won't make eye contact with them. I'll just talk to the owner for at least 10 minutes, just for that, and let that dog. I'll say, just drop the leash, and I'll let them just come up and sniff me and do that, and then I'll just gently go sit next to the owner and sit there for a few minutes. And again, now he's coming up, or she's even closer to me to try to suss up what's going on with me, and I give them that respect. Dogs do not like to be looked in the eyes, because that's a challenge. So I respect that. And a lot of them, I can work with them without a muzzle, and sometimes I do have to muzzle them, but at least, once I do muzzle them, it's like they say, okay, and they submit.
Yeah.
So, which is nice. So,
do they usually behave better when you take them away from?
They do, because they're protective. They want to take care of their mom and dad. And some of them, I'll say, they know, okay, we'll see you in a bit, because they know they're just going to let me do my thing.
Right.
Without the owner being there.
Well, it's funny you said that, because yesterday we came to see you. I took Taco and Lucky, and my Taco, he sometimes gets a little sassy, with me. He won't let me, he'll snap at me.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything to you or your text. I wanted just to, because I didn't want to put that on him in that moment and change the energy. Right. But you guys, you came out and you're like, oh yeah, they just spent 10 minutes brushing him.
Yeah. And how did he look? Did he look nice?
Gorgeous.
He won't
let me do that. I have to sneak attack him with like a brush here and there, and then I hide it. And
that you were able to brush him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah.
He has this like zigzag energy stripes coming off of him. That
Yeah.
I feel like I would look at him and be like, he doesn't want to look at me.
They worked on while we were doing all the other stuff, and
he came out and he was just like, oh hey.
Amazing.
So maybe
it's the energy.
I'm the problem.
Maybe you're the problem.
As usual.
Which we usually are. Yeah.
Usually. Maybe I baby them too much. I don't know. Aw. Let's see what else there is on here.
I think there's somebody who's asking a lot about spay and neuter too. I think I saw a few thinking if I thought it was we should make it mandatory. So, oh boy. Again, I always piss people off. AKC is going to come after me again. But, yes, for now, or at least a moratorium, something, until we can empty out the shelters and the rescues. I'd love to have a temporary stay. No, let's spay and neuter for 2 years.
Yeah.
Something, because it's just, I can't stand the thought. It is so heartbreaking. Little puppies being euthanized. Mm-hmm. I feel better if they would have euthanized the mom before she gave birth.
Right.
Just to make her go through birth, have her babies, and then euthanize them? It's just so unfathomable to me.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening right now. They don't have room. They don't have staff. We're not adopting, and we're not spaying and neutering.
Right. We work a lot with the shelters will give out vouchers.
Yes.
And one of the issues that we have heard about, apparently like only 40% of these vouchers get used up, because what happens to the people, they take the dogs home. The dogs are being given by the shelters.
Yes.
For whatever reason, they've decided to defer that spay or neuter with a voucher for them to do it on their own. The problem is there's not a vet nearby to where the person lives.
Right.
The
vet, or they don't accept the vouchers.
Exactly. So therefore it doesn't get done. So, in the rescue community, we're just trying to come up with different approaches, because that one is kind of like archaic at this point. Like, let's come up with something newer. Like how could we, and maybe you've already thought of this, like how could we work with our community veterinarians that don't necessarily work with the shelters?
Right.
What is it about like a regular spay neuter clinic? Is there a way to incorporate some kind of a lower cost spay neuter option with you guys? Like, I don't know pricing. I don't know how.
Right.
I mean, I'm blessed. I pay for my dogs, but there's just so many people who cannot. And that's the issue.
And there is help, though. There are so many low-cost spay and neuter clinics. I almost feel like there are, but there aren't. I mean, I think that a lot of the people that we talk to, because we are also working with Pam for Spay for LA. Right.
And when I tell you that when we put up on our social media, I think it was like 10:30 one morning, we're doing this clinic, Spay for LA. Right. Here's the sign-up sheet. Right. Spaces are limited. An hour and a half later, we had to take it down because we're already at like 198 applications for this. And we couldn't service them all in that one clinic. But that just shows us that the demand is there and that people are willing and wanting to do this.
Right.
There's just not enough options for them.
Maybe we need to have some kind of a community meeting start with all the rescue groups and the spay groups and see what we can do.
And veterinarians like yourself who are so pro this, because that's kind of the other thing that we're seeing is like there's just, your industry sadly is there just aren't a lot of veterinarians or vet techs it's just...
And it's going to get worse, by the way, unfortunately.
Why do you...
So this will be our next podcast. But I read that in the next 10 years, we're going to be probably 100,000 veterinarians short.
And why is that?
There's a lot of reasons, it's the burnout. It's so hard. Mm-hmm. You incur $300,000 to $400,000 in debt. You make 15% of what a human doctor makes, but we carry just as much of the stress and the burden and practice the same kind of medicine, you know, and it's, you know, the weighing on you too of the euthanasia, but especially in these specialty type practices that are, I tell everybody, please get insurance. When they're a puppy, get insurance, because the specialty groups now, these are all over popping up, are thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, we know that.
Which is just,
yeah,
every one of them,
insurance
you're
forever.
looking at $5,000 minimum for some kind of emergency visit, which is mind-boggling to me, which is, and I see some of the prices and I look at things and I'm disgusted, to be honest with you. I find it horrific, and it's, so these people in the emergency doctors, you know, they've been working there. A lot of people have to put their dogs to sleep. So that taxes on you when you're having to put a pet to sleep that could be fixed, but because of money,
that would kill me.
And
so
that
think about that. That's, so at least for me, it's you know, I'm blessed to work in an area where most of my clients can work up and do the things properly, but we're not anywhere near to what these other specialty groups are charging, you know.
And I also will say, just because I want to shout out to Dr. Dean and you guys here, like, you do work with us, with Deity as the organization. Like, there is a rescue.
We try.
Yes.
We try.
Yes.
You know?
And that.
And unfortunately, we've had to cut that off because so many more rescues try to come, and we're like already maxed on the rescues that we can help.
Yeah.
Because of that. But I feel like every vet hospital should and hopefully does help.
Not everyone.
Not everyone.
Okay. Yeah, but so that's part of it. It's just, it's hard. And so, and the burnout is higher. You know, we are still the #1 suicide rate. I talked about this before.
Yeah.
And these are just part of it. So people are just not as interested anymore when they hear about the reality of veterinary medicine. You know, I wish I was just playing with the puppies and the kittens all the time.
That's what people think we do too.
Yeah.
I know.
It's just not.
We should talk after this, maybe putting some kind of a coalition of veterinarians that might be interested in getting on a spay-neuter clinic, you know.
And there's so many who already, like I said, are doing this.
Yeah.
You know, Diane in Simi Valley, her place, she has an amazing low-cost spay-neuter clinic. They just had a big event in Bakersfield. So, you know, they're out there. I think we all just network together, maybe something like that.
Yeah, well, also what came first, like, there's so many animals that need it. And there's only so many places that they can go. And then there's going to be animals who can't access it. And what came first?
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, I would love to have a sit down with the governor and with Karen Bass anytime they want.
You're like, call me Karen.
You know? Yeah, hey, call me Karen. And let's try to figure this out. I mean, I can't even imagine being the mayor or the governor of this state and the mayor of LA County, but
it's not our job.
But I just think that we got to think about the animals and the shelter situation. Those poor employees, they're doing the best they can in the most horrific of situations.
Yeah.
I just had somebody go in there and there's slimy water bowls and diarrhea all over the dogs, and you know, or the water bowls are empty and they smell like urine, and they're crammed into 3 and 4 in a cage, and you know, and I, like I said, I'm not going to blame the employees because they are really trying, and the volunteers with having little or nothing.
And choosing to volunteer. I mean, that's an issue too. How are you going to find people that are going to help in this situation? It's awful.
It's devastating to have to. I couldn't do it.
I
couldn't be a volunteer in a shelter.
That's what I say to our friends who are the volunteers. We get to opt in and out when we want to. Like, we come in, we take who we think we can help, and we leave. And then we're just like a shell in fetal position for a day or two afterwards. But, you know, the fact that we have now work to do with these new animals keeps us going. But honestly, at this point, like, it is, you kind of have to, like, what's the word? Disassociate and then, like, respawn in your brain to be able to go back in there and do it again. Because the devastation, it's just.
It is, you know.
Which is why we do this for our mental health. We talk to you and you tell us good things that can be done and that you're doing, and we're so grateful.
The thing is, too, if everybody can give in one way or another, whether it's their time, whether it's financially, whether it's educating their kids or their neighbors who have intact pets, just give something of yourself.
Yeah.
Just educate, learn, get information from us.
Yeah.
We'll help in any way we can.
Well, we definitely are going to link the
My Friend's Place
for the donations for people
Wonderful.
to send the kids and dogs food and clothes.
It is a nonprofit organization, so we can, if you need a tax write-off thingy, they'll help with that.
Amazing.
If you don't care, great.
Great.
So
Perfect.
we can do that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm so
Dr.
glad
Lisa.
this is going to be an ongoing thing with
wonderful.
you.
Send in questions for Dr. Lisa.
Yeah, anything. I'll talk.
Yay. Thank you.
Great.